The sooner you learn to listen to your kids and really think about what they're saying, the closer you'll get to them, not just that, but you might learn something about yourself and about the world.
Do you think parents listen to their kids enough?
Absolutely not. They're very quick to teach them things. I don't think I did that at all. I was very quick to discuss things with them, but I didn't do a lot of teaching. I was more, they'd ask me a question, then we'd say, I don't know, let's figure it out together. I was always trying to encourage them to think for themselves. Hi, welcome to the BratBusters Parenting Podcast. I'm laughing because I just messed something up. Typical me. Anyway, my name's Lisa Bunnage. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother. And I'm joined by my daughter, Amy Bunnage, who does all my social media, all my marketing, and all my planning. The only reason I tell you that, and I don't let her do it, is she doesn't like to talk about what she does. She's very humble. It's weird, isn't it? Nothing like me. Anyway, so yeah, she does all the planning. She basically tells me what to do. And for the most part, I do it. If I don't do it, it's just because I'm procrastinating. So I never know what we're going to be talking about. Because I don't work that way. I don't like that. But I'm curious now. What are we going to be talking about today?
So I think that we'll go over what you consider to be the 4 stages of parenting.
Okay. That was very important the way you worded that. You said what I consider, because everything I talk about is just my own stuff. I've never looked at what anyone else talks about. I've never read a book on parenting or kids. I just want to make that very clear. I'm 100% experience-based with my own kids and hundreds of other kids and teenagers. So this is my own personal view of the 4 different stages of parenting. I think it's pretty good. Okay. The first stage is baby, 0 to 15 months. That's when you're just meeting their needs and almost meeting all their wants also. Maybe not so much when they're after 1-year-old. You're starting to teach them right from wrong, but there's not much discipline yet. You're just going no and then redirecting. Okay, that's the first stage. Kind of an easy stage other than, the first few months getting used to being a parent. Then the second stage is the toddler age. That's 16 to 35 months. That's in my own view. And that's when you are teaching them right from wrong and also correcting them. You're using consistent corrective actions, not words. They are not about words. That's not their language. It's very condescending to do these mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions when they're acting out. They're not listening. They may look like they're listening, but they're not taking it in. And it's not in their language, so I think it's condescending. Anyway, then you go into the third stage. That's the child stage, 3 to 12 years old. I know we've got tweens in there. 9 to 12 is a preteen or a tween, but you're still sort of the same type of parent. You're at the height of your leadership skills. That if you're good at it and you're a good leader, at the age of 3 to 12, all of their behaviors are a direct result of your parenting, and which is the best news you can hear because you can control it. And then you go into the teen stage, often dreaded. It happens to be my favorite age, but that's 13 plus, obviously. And that you start to back up a little bit. You want them to be their own leaders, but you're there for the big stuff, okay? And anyway, do you want me to elaborate on the teen stage, my 5 top tips for teenagers? Because it's a really confusing stage for a lot of parents.
Yeah, I think do that. But then also, if you are looking to dive a little deeper, we've done a podcast that's out.
Okay.
All on teenagers.
Okay. Do you want me to do this
Yeah.
now? Okay, this is just my own top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. Listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. By the way, they already know it. Number 2, you negotiate as much as possible. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the laundry from now on and nowhere else. What do you want from me? Give and take. When you get good at this, they're usually very respectful. They don't usually say something like, I don't want you talking to me all day or get off my back. They might start that way, so just be patient, takes time. Number 3, don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. In other words, it's okay to be human. It's okay to make mistakes. We all do it. Okay, number 4, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. I won't get into that one because I tend to ramble on about that. So in other words, if you're getting along with your teenager, don't discuss when you're not getting along with them, okay? It wrecks the good times. And number 5, with a teenager, this is probably, other than listening to understand and show empathy, this is probably the most important one. With a teenager, you can either be a right fighter or you can be happy. When you're arguing with a teenager, they're going to keep going. And they usually know you're right anyway. You know you're right because you usually are right when you're arguing with a teenager, right? Stop it. Don't do it. There's no point whatsoever. You're both going to be miserable. They're going to hate you. They're going to love you, but hate, you know what I mean? So yeah, you can either be a right fighter with a teenager or you can be happy. You can't be both.
Okay, when you say don't sweat the small stuff, what would be an example of small stuff?
If they were running late for school and you had to drive them,
okay,
I would think that wouldn't be a big deal. It would be annoying, But I would say, yeah, that was stupid. If it keeps happening, there'll be a consequence or whatever, you have to do something. But initially, have you ever been late in the morning as an adult? I mean, is it that big a deal? That's what I mean. The big stuff is you caught them stealing. That would be a big one.
Okay.
Okay. That's a little bit different.
Okay. So like felonies.
Felony. Yeah. And stuff. I won't go on about that, but yeah, felonies, kind of the big stuff.
Okay. Good to know. Okay. Did you have, well, I think I know your favorite stage.
It's the teen stage, because when you get past all that angst and not knowing how to talk to them and connect with them, they're, of course, the most developed, and they're the most interesting to talk to. And they're going to teach you probably the most about yourself and about life, because their brains are, of course, at the height of efficiency, right? They got big, fat, developed brains at the height of efficiency. They don't have any wisdom yet, okay, or a lot of impulse control. But if you really get good at listening to them, you're going to learn something. So you're going to learn a lot, actually, because they look at the world in a very fresh but advanced way. So, because they can think things through, they can process things, they can analyze things, and they look at the world in more of a fresh approach. Whereas me, I'm 64 now. I'm all stale and old, but I'm a learner. I have a very open mind. I love to learn. And but yeah, if you get really good at listening to teenagers, they're going to teach you a lot, and also about patience and letting stuff go. A lot of my clients complain and they say, yeah, but he's so unfair. He treats me like crap. When's the payback? When do I get mine? And I said, well, when he's got his own teenager and is complaining to you about them, just say, oh, just like you. So that's the payback. But it's a slow burn. You're going to have to wait for that. You can't discuss the bad times with teenagers. If you're not getting along with them, what's the point? What's the point? It's just going to be ugly. So, just focus on the good, deal with bad behavior as needed, the big stuff, but then focus on your connection.
Yeah, I think what I remember from being a teenager is you were really open-minded, and even now, like I can easily influence you if I've got like you we're gonna give them a shout out. You've got a Ninja Creamy sitting in your kitchen because I was like, oh my gosh, have you seen this new Ninja Creamy? And so you bought one and like you're very impressionable.
I'm extremely, but only in my inner circle, only with people I'm close to. So like my son had these headphones and he said, and we share music. Like I love Slipknot and Falling in Reverse, all this sort of headbanging kind of music. And that's because I had a teenage son who loved it. I would never have listened to that. But I also listened to Michael Bublé, so don't figure that one out. But anyway, one day I was over at his place, because he has a baby now, so I'm over there as much as possible. And I'm over there and he goes, oh, these headphones, you got to listen to these, Mom. And I listened to them. So what did I do? I went home and bought them. Yep. Big, expensive headphones that I didn't need, but I love. If my kids suggest something or someone else in my inner circle, I'll probably go out and do it and get it and like it. And I'll say, my son used to say, when Mom says she hates something, what she means is convince me otherwise. Because I always say, oh, I hate that. But have you tried it this way, Lisa? Oh, maybe I will. Oh, that's really good. I'm extremely impressionable. So and I think that's just being open-minded. That's my take on it anyway.
The things I could list out. You do weightlifting now. You eat kabocha squash because of me.
I'm vegan.
Oh yeah.
She went vegan.
I'm not even vegan anymore.
She went vegan. 2 weeks later, I'm vegan. Because I think my kids are great. Whatever they do, I tend to follow. So yeah, she goes vegan. 2 weeks later, I'm vegan. And it's funny, she's not vegan anymore because she started craving meat.
I guess I was technically never vegan then if I'm not. But anyways, I'm no longer plant-based, but you still are.
But she was for about 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, and I've been vegan now for 9.5 years. Yeah. So, but she's eating meat. I don't want it. So I'm not pro-vegan. It just works for me. But yeah, it's another one. Everything. Oh, I was thinking I'll buy this. And she goes, have you tried that? And then I go out and get whatever she suggested.
Yeah. So she really does.
Listen, I'm a good listener with especially in my inner circle. I don't just listen to the pub, you know what I mean? But it's people I trust and love and care about. I'm usually don't have very many opinions. I just follow theirs. I'm a follower for sure. I'm a follower. Mm-hmm. But I think that's also what has made it so easy for me to connect with kids, because I know how to listen to them. They have great ideas, even little kids. Watch them play. They'll play with something in a way that I wouldn't have thought to do, because I'm old. So yeah, I just love learning from, I kind of have my kids on a pedestal. and basically young people, like kids on a pedestal also, because I feel very protective towards them, and they're fresh, they're new, and they've got fascinating ideas. The sooner you learn to listen to your kids and really think about what they're saying, the closer you'll get to them, not just that, but you might learn something about yourself and about the world.
Do you think parents listen to their kids enough?
Absolutely not. They're very quick to teach them things. I don't think I did that at all. I was very quick to discuss things with them, but I didn't do a lot of teaching. I was more, they'd ask me a question, then we'd say, I don't know, let's figure it out together. I was always trying to encourage them to think for themselves. But no, absolutely, parents don't listen enough. Absolutely. I was listened to, and I think that's why I'm good at it. I felt very heard by my parents, and who never yelled. They were great listeners. So I lucked out. I was adopted, thank God. I got great parents.
Okay, let's say you didn't grow up with that then. What would be your recommendations if a parent's looking to become a better listener?
There's lots of things that I didn't grow up with that I'm doing now that I'm good at. Like my parents were not into bodybuilding or weightlifting like I am, or not that I'm a bodybuilder, but you know what I mean. But I forged my own path. Like I still had things I wanted to do. So I just did it. You got to work hard to do that, because if you were raised in a certain way, like I remember once my mother said to me, and I've always been into fitness, and she could never understand that. She was born in 1922, so it was a different era. They had to wash things, everything that they did was physical labor, right? So they didn't exercise. And I remember one time she was visiting us in Australia where we lived, and I used to teach aerobics, and I just got home from the gym, and I was sweating and exhausted because I'd taught 2 or 3 classes in a row. I was exhausted, and I came home, and she goes, "Why do you do that to yourself?" I found I didn't even know how to answer. Like I do it because I love fitness. I'm addicted to it. I love it. And so I wasn't raised with that, but you can still forge your own path. Now, let's say I had parents who were not very nice people, treated me horribly, and I had a really destructive background. That's your job to overcome that and realize you are not your parents. You do not have to repeat that. I talk about this a lot in coaching because a lot of what they're dealing with and can't get past, if they're really struggling to overcome a habit that they have, and I've told them what they should and shouldn't be doing, then I say, what did your parents do? Sure enough, if it's something they're really struggling to overcome, it's something that they were raised with. So it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Because that's ingrained in them. But then we work past that. And I say, well, you got to work twice as hard to get over that, because you're not your parents. You are not your mother. You are not your father. You were a victim. If they were mean to you, you were a victim of that. That's not who you are, though.
I just made a note. I think we should do a whole episode on that, but maybe we'll move on to the questions for this one, but I think that could be its whole episode.
Yeah, so much comes out in coaching that really never comes out anywhere else because it's so personal. I get to know a lot about these people, and that's why I love coaching so much. And their vulnerabilities and what they're struggling with, and a whole bunch of other stuff comes up. It's not just about parenting at all. A whole bunch of baggage and stuff comes up. And we all have baggage, by the way, all of us. We're all built on our experiences, but it's your job to try and overcome that. And as hard as it is, I'm not saying it's easy. Nothing worthwhile is. Well, that's not true. I'm sure winning lotto would be worthwhile. I don't know.
I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. It's not hard work. But you get the idea here that it is, if you are dealing with this, with your childhood, and you're doing the same mistakes that your parents made, you're not them. You don't have to continue doing that. And I'm a coach. I'm not a therapist. A lot of it is therapy, obviously, but that's not my thing. I don't know anything. I'm not qualified to do that. But therapists discuss the past. Coaches discuss the future. But sometimes we need to fix up the past and our thoughts about that and our emotions about that before we can move forward. So a lot of coaching is that. And but anyway, so you're not alone if you're going through a whole bunch of struggles as a parent. Believe me, you're in very good company. You'd be surprised who hires me. You would think, wow, they must have it made. Their lives look like these are like some famous people, and their lives look so perfect. But you don't know what they're going through behind the scenes. Nobody does. They hide it very well. We all do, right? We all put on a brave face.
Yeah, you never know what anyone's going through.
You don't. So if you think that you're the only one going through this, and a lot of parents have said to me, I love my kids, but I hate them. I hear that a lot. So if you feel that way, you're not alone. You're in very good company. I know you love your kids, but sometimes you hate being with them, right? They're driving you nuts. Very common.
Okay. I guess we'll get into the first question. So, Francesca from Spain. I'm struggling a lot with my 18-month-old. He has a lot of character, and when he wants something or sees a kid with a toy, teddy, or whatever, he just screams until the child gives it to him. Or I take him away from the situation and distract. He usually takes 10 minutes to get over it. Any tips or advice? I just wanted to stop because there's more.
Okay.
He is a very good boy otherwise, listens to a lot of commands, and will help with cleaning around the house, for example, but I just can't get that screaming to stop when he's frustrated. And it is so loud. I get so many looks on the streets.
Well, she already answered it. She takes him away. I wouldn't do the distract. I would take him away and then ignore. I would put that in the tantrum category, how I deal with tantrums. So I would pull him away and then I'd just stand there waiting for the screaming to stop. Might take 10 minutes. And you got to be the same parent no matter where you are. You can't address this when you're home and then when you're out, you're too embarrassed to address it. My son had tantrums, and if I was out somewhere and I was getting the dirty looks and all that, I'd just say, "Does anyone kid for sale? Does anyone want him? Actually, I'll pay you." And then people would start laughing, and so yeah, don't worry about that. You're gonna slow it down if you're not willing to be consistent, no matter where you are. You're gonna slow down the progress, and his lessons won't be learned. So yeah, you're doing it perfectly. It's going to take time. They don't learn the first 10 times. Might take 20 or 50 times. Then he still might pull out that screaming again in another few months. You never know. He's just 18 months old. He's just learning. She said he had a lot of character. I laughed at that. A lot of parents say, "Oh, he's got a lot of character, a lot of spunk." Usually means that they're a little bit more challenging, right? So yeah, he's got a lot of character. Yeah, they all do. Some are just easy. You were very easygoing. I would say you had a lot of character. And that you knew what you liked, but she never fought for it. She knew what she liked, but she never fought for it. She was very quick to back up and let anyone else take it. Very easygoing. You're still kind of like that in a way, in that you've got a lot of patience and wait for what you want. I think that's what was brewing. She's very good at waiting for what she wants, planning it out. And
I love a good slow burn.
Yeah, she's not a fighter. She's not. Yeah, I'm very much, I want it now, I want it today. Where is it? I'm very impatient. She's not. She goes, "I like waiting for things because then I appreciate it more." I'm like, what?
We're all different though. And it has its drawbacks. But yeah, one of my favorite things is if somebody underestimates me or makes a comment and I let it sit. And then I'll just prove it wrong. I don't need to say it wrong. I'll just prove it wrong.
Well, she's very humble, but she's a very impressive young woman. And because she doesn't brag or talk about herself ever, she is underestimated initially. She loves that. And then later on, people go, "Wow, she's got something on the ball."
Oh my gosh, imagine my mom thinking I'm impressive.
I'm not the only one that's noticed that. So
it's funny. Okay, we'll go to the next question. So Stephen from the United Kingdom.
Sorry, but even then she's humble. You know what I mean? Oh, imagine my mom. Believe me, it's not just me who said that. Okay. You see what I mean?
It's also my father says that too.
And your grandmother used to say that? No, other people that you in other walks of life that don't know you have said, "Wow, she's something else." And then I go, "Yeah, she takes after me because I'm not humble." Okay,
runs in the family.
Let's go.
Okay, Stephen from the United Kingdom. My child is a middle child of 10 years old, and it doesn't seem to matter what consequences he is given. He shows attitude, selfishness, and disrespect towards people and doesn't learn from his consequences about his mistakes and changes his behavior. He always answers back, and although you give him a chance to say his piece, he continues to give attitude and ignores what has been asked of him. It's becoming rather stressful and mentally emotional to the point I'm withdrawing to engage with him due to being tired of all the drama. How do we start to resolve this and reverse this behavior?
I've got a lot of ideas, but I don't know what's going on. That's a big picture question. I would suggest actually check out the boot camp course, teaching you how to be a leader. It says you're not a leader. Now, I'll give you a good example of what you said was we let him go on. We do listen. We do let him say his piece. Okay, so I'm going to sort of address that a little bit here. My mom was a phenomenal energy shifter. If I was whining or complaining about something, and it wouldn't have been with her, it would have been like someone at school did something I didn't like. And I would have gone on and on and on about it, whining and complaining. I'm not proud of it, but I would have. And this would have been my mom. She's a great listener. She would have been listening like this. As soon as I shut up, she would have said, "Oh, okay, I'm going to go do some baking. Do you want to join me?" And I can remember going, okay. I remember how embarrassed I was because I looked up to my mom. In other words, that was a pile of garbage I was just listening to, but she never said it. So yeah, she did listen, but then she corrected by changing the subject. So if you said that you do let him say his piece, say, yeah, okay, that's great, or whatever, though that would be frustrating. And then if he keeps going on, you've already answered that. If he keeps going on and on and on, will not give up, say, all right, how about we go, I'm going to go read a book, or I'm going to go do the dishes or something. Change the subject. That's just one of the methods. I'm thinking that wouldn't work with him though. I think he's kind of next level. He's going to come back at you hard. So I'm pretty sure he will. So check out the boot camp course, or you can look into coaching if you want to go to the next level. But yeah, check out the boot camp course. It's all about you, setting you up as a leader. If you don't want to buy the course, check out the behavior board. That's completely free. It actually is a mini course, and it'll give you some ideas on how to move forward. So yeah, it just means you're not a leader. That's what that says to me. Plus, you also started with he's a middle child. He's labeled. I've worked with hundreds of families, and I've never found that the middle child is more challenging than the others. Never. No, I mean, not in a right, not over.
Not because they're a middle child.
Yeah, not because they're a middle child at all. I've never found that. So the fact that you said he's a middle child, I think when a child acts out and they happen to be a middle child, then they're labeled the middle child. If he was super easygoing, you probably wouldn't call him the middle child. See what I mean? You've labeled him. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't use the word middle child. Words, middle child.
Words matter.
Words count. Oh God, I want to tell you so many funny stories. I had so many funny stories last week, but I was sick. I had a cold and I was coaching, and I didn't think to ask permission to share them. And if you hear a story from me, I've got permission to share it, with no names, of course. It just reminds me of the story. I should ask them next time I see them. Anyway, it's all about the middle child syndrome. And it's very similar. I will ask them. And no one's ever said no to me. Everyone's always, and I would never ask if it was something really, personal. But anyway, I'll try and remember to ask them about that, and I'll tell it in another podcast.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, when you talk about the energy shifting, where's the line between that and then also being dismissive?
Because she's already addressed what I've said. I've been complaining about someone. She goes, that would be frustrating. Oh, well, maybe they'll be nicer tomorrow. The end. But no, Lisa keeps going. And then another thing, it's when they go on and on and on, the drama, right? So, but yeah, it's when I went on and on and on about it. That's when in other words, yeah, that's enough. But she wouldn't have said it. She would have done that subtle. She hated confrontation. She never yelled. She was a very sweet lady, and she would just energy shift. And then I would go and bake with her and shut up, and it was all fine. So that's how she controlled that. But yeah, she'd already listened. She already validated what I was saying, that it was frustrating, but that wasn't enough for me. I had to keep going.
We all love to whine a little.
I know. That's the only thing about, we whine with each other, but it's a little bit different whining to your daughter. I do it. Don't get me wrong. I do it. But there's nothing like, I don't have any parents anymore. I'm an orphan now. So, because I'm old, they're, long gone. And, but yeah, you don't tend to whine with anybody else like you do with your parents, because they can't get rid of you. They can't divorce you. They can't ignore you. They're stuck with you.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I miss. Isn't that funny? I miss whining with my mom. I didn't do it a lot as I got older, but she was the person that I would have whined to.
Yeah, I don't
self-pity.
I don't whine to my friends the way I whine to you.
Well, that's mother-daughter stuff, right? So yeah, we're best friends. We're very lucky.
Yeah, we don't bake a lot of cakes though.
We don't bake. Well, I hate cooking. And you don't like baking. So yeah, we don't bake cakes, but we walk a lot, we talk a lot, we never shut up. So
okay, next question is Caroline from Norway. How to separate tantrums from needs. For instance, our daughters often have tantrums when hungry or tired, but it's not always easy to know in advance if that's the cause, because she can have tantrums just because she doesn't get her way also. She's 1.5 years old.
Yeah, you can't figure them out at that age. But if you know they're hungry and tired, then you meet their needs before you manage their wants. A tantrum over wants, you can't always tell. You'll know better than I would. I can't tell you that. But if you think they're hungry or tired, especially tired, kids will often have tantrums at bedtime. Just follow through and put them to bed. So you're not addressing the tantrum, but you're still following through with what their needs are. They need to go to bed. They need to eat. So you follow through with the needs. So, and even a child who is hungry and tantruming because they're hungry, once they've got in that spin, they can't get themselves out of it. Even if you try and offer them food, they'll often try and push it away. So just give it a little bit of time. But I can't figure that out. Like, I don't know if you're meeting their needs or not. Like, you would know that. You know if they're hungry or tired generally. But yeah, if they're just tantruming because you had to take a toy away from them for some reason, then that's a want. And that's when you ignore the tantrums. Otherwise, you meet their needs, manage their wants. But you never ignore a tantrum, or you never ignore the child when they're tantruming over needs. Or if they're sick. My kids, whatever they wanted when they were sick, they got it. No questions asked.
I mean, I get a little hangry sometimes, so I get it.
She does. Don't get between her and her food.
Or coffee.
Or coffee. Oh my gosh.
I know.
I love Coffee Amy. That's the best.
Mm-hmm.
Coffee Amy's fantastic.
Yeah. I had coffee right before this, so.
Oh yeah, she's adorable.
Yeah, me in a couple hours though.
Yeah, not so much. That's why we'll be separating. She'll be going home.
Okay, next question is Holly from the United States. My son is 2.5 and is very aggressive towards his 1-year-old sister and other kids around his age. I use constant corrective action and remove him, but it doesn't seem to be improving. Anything else I can do before the behavior board at 3?
2.5. Well, consistent corrective action works over a period of time, and you said it's just not working. So you might have to up it a little bit. Let's say he's being mean to his little sister, 1.5, I think. So he's being mean to her. So what I would do is I would remove him from the fun, and then I would play very exaggerated and happily with the 1.5-year-old while keeping him at bay. It's a little bit more of a little bit of a, like, here you go, but keep it short. Don't go on too much about it, but just show him. And here we go. And look at this is lovely and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a next level thing, but don't overuse it. Because it kind of a lot of parents will overuse that. And that's why I always say don't overuse it. So it looks like they're saying, oh, and I love you and I hate you. I love you and I hate you. So you got to be careful with that. Don't make it drag out. Okay. Just look like you're sort of consoling the victim. But be careful with this too, because is the 1.5-year-old poking and trying to instigate some attention and annoying the 2.5-year-old? Often the one who hits is the victim and didn't start it. So you got to kind of watch that too. But then you also said he's like that with other kids who were his age. Why doesn't he do it with older kids? Because they would knock him flat if he hit them or anything. So that's why older kids take care of business with little kids, and they just ignore them. So that's why he only does it when he thinks he can get away with it. So just keep doing what you're doing, but maybe fuss over the victim a little bit more. It's a little bit more of a message, but be careful with it. I love you and I hate you. I love you. It can go overboard.
That's why I'm glad that we have the podcast. You can add a little bit more nuance.
Yeah. Was I not doing that before in the lives?
No. You do. It's just you can only fit so much into 30 and 60-second videos. So it's nice to have a little bit more longer form content to like actually be able to hear your full answer. And
that's what's good about coaching too. I'm not trying to sell coaching. I got a big wait list, but what I mean by that is that I can go on as much as I need to get a point across. But yeah, the other ones are just sort of snippets. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Okay, we have the final question. Ty from the United States, ages 9, 6, 5, 3, and 4 weeks. Like you've mentioned, I cannot handle whining, and when they tell me no, coming from the oldest 3 kids, I usually say, try again, and they immediately shape up and ask or tell whatever it is in a normal, not whiny voice. If I keep working on becoming a leader parent, should this solve it? Or do you have any other advice for whining?
You kind of rewarded it. Can you guess why? I'm talking to Amy here. Do you know why? You kind of rewarded it. Can you guess?
No, I can't.
Yeah, because try again. So they whined, they got attention, and then they did the right thing. But to get attention, they've probably learned they have to whine to get your attention. That's a real tell for me. Because if you say try again, they just won. The whine worked. All they have to do now is ask nicely. Because you talked. I don't talk. I use that, if you can't see me, I'm pulling on my ear. it's a signal that if you're whining, I will pull my ear, and that means I'm not listening to that. So it's just subtle, but it's different. It's just different because I'm not necessarily even looking at them. I might just it's a subtle cue that you're whining and I'm not listening to that. And then the first time that I talk to them is when they talk nicely. You've talked to a whine. You've rewarded the whine. Is it too subtle to maybe get my point across with that? Is that understandable, or did I?
That makes sense, but I would not have thought of that.
Well, yeah, think about it. I don't talk to whiners, and they just whined, and then you talk to them. Try again. Ooh, boy, she talked to me. Whining works. Because I'm guessing the first time they say something not in a whine, you got a lot of kids, right? You got 5 kids. Well, 4 and a newborn. And think about how hard it is to probably get attention in that family. So whining, instantly you turn to them to correct them, but then they've got your attention like that. You've just rewarded it. You've just trained them to continue whining.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's not that interesting to me, but you wouldn't have seen that?
No.
Oh, that is interesting, actually. I would have thought that. But then I guess it's like anything when this is what you teach, it just all seems so obvious. You're rewarding it.
Yeah. For context, I have no kids. And so I'm coming from the perspective of someone who knows very little about children.
Yeah, we were going through some pictures once a couple months ago, and we were putting them on some course. And she kept saying to me, is this a toddler? Is this a toddler? She didn't even know what toddlers look like. Like she's never been around a lot of kids, and she's never taken an interest. They'll have kids one day, but I mean, it's not something she has right now, and she's into business and that. So we started laughing because I said, no, that's a 60-year-old man with a cigar in his mouth. Like the kids that she was showing me were like 8 and 9 years old.
I'm finally at this, honestly though, I'm finally at the stage where I have friends now who have kids. So I'm getting I'm getting a little bit more practice in, which is helping for sure. Although definitely like holding a baby still feels very unnatural for me.
Well, to give you some context here too, my son had a baby his wife did, and about a year ago. And so when Amy was holding the baby, we were all there waiting to catch it in case she dropped it. And she's the first one to say, I don't know what I'm doing. And the kid was all flopping around.
I never dropped the baby.
No, that's because we were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think she'd ever drop a baby, but it was funny because we were all, okay, I'll hold him like this and hold him like that.
I can say that I've never changed a diaper. I'm 30, so.
Well, I started babysitting and volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11. I was like a mini mom. I loved being around little kids and babies. So yeah, I was 11 the first time I changed a diaper.
I actually have had a lot of experience around like toddler ages, but it was when I was a lot younger in gymnastics coaching. So I've been around a lot of kids, but it's so different. It's so different when you're just coaching gymnastics.
It is, because then, yeah, the kids are there to have fun and it's all positive and you don't have to deal with anything else. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You were very good at it too.
Okay. I think that takes us to the end of the podcast. Do you want to add anything else?
I think I've talked a lot. This has been a long one, hasn't it? I've been talking a lot. No, just other than something I touched on, and I just want to drive it home again too. If you're really struggling with parenting and you really think that you're the only one, that everyone else has it figured out, no, you're wrong. Most people struggle through it, especially with their first. They're learning as they go, because we usually only have one family. It's not like we get a practice family and then we get to do it well with our own. You know what I mean? So it's a learn as you go kind of a process. I had tons of experience with kids before I had my own, and I sort of did a lot of the mothering role. I wasn't a teacher or anything. That's different. But I kind of mothered all the kids I was with, and it really helped me a great deal. But otherwise, if you don't have tons and tons of experience with kids, it's a learn as you go. So don't expect it to come naturally. It doesn't. Because years ago they used to say that parenting should just come naturally. That's because there was a village raising kids. The whole street, all the moms were home all day, and everyone was sort of looking out for everyone else's kids. This is like 100 years ago, right? So, and if a kid did something naughty, the other mother would get on the phone. Oh, Phyllis, do you know what your son just did? You know, so we had all eyes on us, and a lot of grandparents were around a lot. So there was a village raising kids. So it never came naturally. Plus, parents didn't care how they parented. They just wanted good kids. If you act out, they give you a spanking. They didn't analyze their parenting as much. They weren't conscientious about it. It was just something that you got kids, you give them a spanking when they're bad. It was just sort of, that was what was done. So my parents were a little bit different. They were older, and my dad was a lot older. He was like a grandparent age compared to my friends' parents. But on the street, he was the only dad out there playing every night with the kids. And because he was a father late in life, and he just wallowed in it. So my parents were very unusual, very progressive. But yeah, I'm sure they made mistakes too. We're all going to make mistakes. Don't be too hard on yourself, okay? Go easy on yourself. Anyway, I think we'll wrap it up here. I've yabbered on yet again. Okay, so thanks very much from myself, Lisa, and Amy, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready to dive deeper, check out BratBusters.com to learn more about the behavior board, parenting courses, and private one-on-one coaching with Lisa. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional advice. Lisa is a parenting coach, mom, and grandmother. She is not a licensed psychologist or counselor. Her services do not replace the care of psychologists or other healthcare professionals. For a full disclaimer, please visit BratBusters.com/disclaimer.